Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first and last word poetry series. I'm Gloria Mindak, one of your hosts tonight, along with Harris Gardner. And after the reading, there will be a short Q&A and then an open mic where there will be 5 slots, and then Harris will close us out. So if you would like to read in the open mic, please leave your name in the chat and I'll call on you. But again, there's only 5 slots. So let's get started. And Harris, would you take it away, please?
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to the first and last word poetry series, curated by the wonderful Gloria Mindak and myself. And we're in our 13th year, which would be in the Jewish tradition, the Bar Mitzvah year. So call us Bar Mitzvah people. Anyway, we have 2 wonderful features tonight, well known to all of you. They almost don't need an introduction, but we're going to give them one anyway. Our first featured poet. Are we going alphabetical, or do you have a preference who goes first? Okay, so our first reader in alphabetical order is Mary Bonina. She's one half of a husband and wife poetry team. Her bio reads as follows. She's the author of My Father's Eyes, a memoir, and the poetry collections Living Proof, Clear Eye Tea, and the forthcoming chapbook Lunch in Chinatown from Cervena Barva Press. Her poetry, fiction, and essays in Salamander, the Lowell Review, Poets and Writers Magazine, etc. Also in anthologies from Rutgers University, the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and other publishers. And I give you Mary Bonina.
Great, thank you. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Harris. Thank you, Gloria. I have been working on a new manuscript, which I've completed this summer. And it's a full-length manuscript, and I'm just starting to send it around. And I'm going to be reading from that tonight only. I just want to give you a little description, because I'm going to try to read from different sections, not every section, because there isn't time for that. But I'm going to read more poems from the first section, because it's kind of the rudder of the book, because they're poems, and they're a different type of poem than the others are. They're called poems of witness, and I'm sure most of you know what that means. Having experienced something that is some trauma, some tragedy that you know of, or you've experienced yourself, and being a witness to that, meaning advocating in a way for change, to expose what the issue is, whether it's war, immigration, incarceration, mental health care, whatever. So the Charm is the name of the book. It begins with the poetry of witness to, quote, a mind gone astray, and the speaker's need to record the ineffectiveness of the care received in treatment, and also of her own attempt to come to terms with that failure for someone she loves, and her own to effect change for healing. There is then the realization that the speaker needs to be seen for more than a streak of grief or worry running across the forehead. So in processing this narrative of witness, in the following sections of the collection, I explore the speaker's own path in love, family, and the beauty of the larger and natural, especially the natural worlds. So I'm going to start by reading the first poem, which is the title poem of the book. It's called The Charm. Gold, not silver trinkets on a chain to fit the wrist, elegance for your small bone. Why gold? Not because it is more precious, but because it will shine as the sun, even on a dark day. You'll need the charm that is a key attached to a ruby heart. Attach a house, then add the people, mother, father, sisters, brothers. Let them jingle jangle for a while. For you, an artist's palette, the paint colors, settings of ruby, topaz, emerald, sapphire. Add also an empty frame. Select a small pendant to fill with 9 herbs, the ones for the 10th century charm, the healing spell for those suffering from a stabbing pain like the one you feel in your heart. Choose a locket that will open easily when you need relief. Shake the herbs out, crush, mix to make a salve. Chamomile, mugwort, lamb's cress nettle, crab apple, thyme, fennel. But don't forget, you'll need the charm that is a key attached to a ruby heart. So following that, the narrative begins. Just the facts. I know there was a hut, a place the kids built in the woods. I know because I remember the newspaper's front page banner headline, 6 teens dead, the place burning, stove to keep warm, exploding. Down the hill, the bridge. I don't really know if there was one, but if you went there, you'd remember it, someone said. This place, the teenagers claimed their own, just outside city limits, a suburban town with nothing going for it or for them. She didn't live there, but her friends did. She thought they were her friends. Let's suppose some of them were. Off she went, weekend nights, climbing the hill by the lake with others. That's where she woke that night, naked, lying in the grass. But no, I'm thinking lying in leaves or snow. The season must have been fall or winter, because some kind boy took his coat off, put it on her, and he and his girl drove her home, deposited her at her parents' house. Did he take back the coat, and did she have to walk in naked? After. My apartment, hot in winter. We opened windows. The absent landlord didn't care about that, or that I painted my room a color called federal red, or that my roommate filled up the spare room with plants, illegal then, and when they reached the ceiling, drove to the reservoir, planted them. I tried keeping her. She was my sister. Having her stay meant she was alone all day. I had work, no alternative except to leave her. After work, the doctor. I knew what he'd say. She needed hospital care. I took her to our mother. My sister screamed bloody murder going into the kitchen, washing machine parts spread out on the table, repairman gone off on a break. And the machine taken apart, laid out like that, making no sense to her, undone, come undone, the way she was then. At my apartment that night, I heard an ambulance passing slowly by, knew she was being taken then. Only later I heard the story about the hill, slick with ice, not salted, not sanded, and the difficulty the crew had making it up to the house. I remember trying to walk carefully down the hill winter mornings, a young girl, just trying to get to school without falling. Did the EMTs climb on foot to the crest where the house loomed large, where the parents were waiting for them to carry her out on a stretcher? Or did the driver persist and finally take the hill, parking at the front door to pick her up? Then, after being saved the first time, her painting of a string of pills, not pearls, but looking like a choker with a broken clasp, dropped on the floor. on the black and white tiles, and a dozen long-stemmed red roses thrown down too in the kitchen. Was it that she thought if she took all the pills they gave her, it would cure her once and for all? I'd like to think that. I never knew the exact goodbye words she used in the note she left on the end table. Second time, she'd taken up with a security guard who wore a holster with a gun. He didn't take it off when he visited. But again, it was the pills she took. Talk to her, the nurses said, when the overdoses led to coma. She can hear you, but I've been talking and talking for years. You're like a broken record, my mother used to say. I withhold my world from her. One day it's a pair of swans, another a heron or a walk under the red-tipped yellow leaves, a canopy over the path. I keep from her that I pass by bodies of water on either side of me. A runner, I don't know where my strength comes from, why I have it and she does not. Wonder why one suffers, the other tries to soothe, or why one gives up and the other just won't. And there's one more in this section that I'm going to read before going on to a couple of other poems. And it's sort of at the end of the section. So let's see. Here it is. The photographer. She thinks I hold my head too high. Then, when I don't look up at her lens, tells me not to lower it so much. I fear being altered by a new position, a changing light. I think I know my own soul or spirit. When she points her camera at me, I want her to see something more than a scar or a streak of grief or worry running across my forehead. I frustrate the photographer who says, relax, has me change from blouse to sweater, then back, coaches me to look serious, light, pretty, cute, fierce, poetic, professional. My clothing now is meant to earn respect. Once I was grateful just to have one pair of shoes, some soft shirts, a warm coat to keep out ferocious wind, icy rain. How carefully I chose those shoes and shirts and coat. How I took care not to wear them out too soon. I am in each frame captured, not whole, but in part. On the wall behind me, there is a shadow the photographer says she can remove. So we'll change the feeling of this and read from a couple of the other sections, which I'm going to read a poem from a section that begins with a quotation from Camus, of all people. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there is an invincible summer. So I'm going to read a poem called Guggen's Rocks. On the rocks, I found childhood, in kelp drape clinging to them, understood stubborn slime, filling whorls of periwinkles, studding shale. I climbed until my feet slipped. Wet from the sea, I dripped in the sun, watched minnows in tin pails, got dizzy trying to make sense of things. 16 summers and I never knew the names of islands I stared at in Saco Bay, Basket, Garish, Stage, Negro. I followed snail roads on a mud plain, the flat, wet strand. A girl back then, thinking past the waves, glint of gold on something miraculous, a medal hanging from a chain around the neck. So the last poem I'm going to read is the last, in the very last section of the book. And it's called Tough Trek. And it's in the section, actually, that section begins with a quotation from Thoreau. All of the quotations that precede the different sections have to do with seasons. So in the first section that I read of the Poems of Witness, there's a quotation from Zora Neale Hurston about some seasons ask questions, some years ask questions, some give answers. And this one's quotation is from Thoreau: live in each season as it passes, breathe the air, drink the drink, and resign yourself to the influence of the earth. And so those are, a lot of those poems are nature poems, or poems about the natural world or the larger world. So the poem Tough Trek, my last poem, and I want to thank everyone for being here. Tough Trek. What the ranger did was lock up his little hut, drive away, leave us hiking whereabouts unknown to anyone else in a foreign country. A vacation from winter. Setting out, there'd been no list to add our names, only a sign, you know the one, about how you must proceed at your own risk. Absolutely alone to negotiate the path on a ridge in the rainforest, soft earth underfoot, circling the volcanic lake below us. We go climbing into the clouds, shaky legs, vertigo, water bottles empty too soon, and the color green teasing us to rest. Hear our hearts beating as if they are outside the body in the orchids clinging to the trees. We thump our way forward through mist wrap, displaying the height of ignorance, believing as gospel truth, a stroll in the park, a stroll in the park or a day at the beach. Turning back, we know, will be as difficult as keeping on, giving up simply out of the question. I hug the ground on the downslope, though perfectly fine going uphill. It is my way to clutch at roots. Are the orchids really beating, and is the air thick with wings? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mary. That was wonderful, and I love your images. Just really
Thanks
gorgeous.
so much, Gloria.
And our next reader is Mark Pawlak. He is the author of 9 poetry collections and the editor of 6 anthologies. And since 1980, he has been co-editor of Hanging Loose. Away, Away, a new collection will be published in 2024. His most recent book is the memoir, My Deniversity, Knowing Denise Levertov by MadHat Press 2021. And I give you Mark.
Thank you, Gloria. And thank you, Harris. Boy, Mary and I have both been suffering from a cough and congestion, so I'm hoping I can get through this. It's been a pleasure over the years, actually, to read in this series multiple times, and it's been, I really admire your persistence and efforts to keep it going. So I'm going to start with a poem from my last poetry collection called Reconnaissance, and the title sort of is kind of characteristic of some of my approach to poetry more recently. This is a poetic sequence I'm going to read in I think 7 parts, and I just realized I actually write in sequences frequently. My very first poetry collection, the Buffalo Sequence, now almost 50 years old, I guess got me going in that direction. And this one also starts with a quote, an epigraph from Thoreau. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. Admonitions. 1. You stand on the pedestrian median between lanes of traffic, waiting for the walk light, gazing down to where rain has washed up winged seeds, flotsam of sodden leaf litter, the butt ends of cigarettes crushed under heels, paying no mind to the chicory sprout that has put out just for you this display of pinwheel petals under an echoing blue sky with not a single cloud in sight. 2. Lift your eyes from the gutter, yes, you, and behold this pastel-colored Easter egg sky with jagged line of white light screaming through the crack in its shell. 3. Go ahead and be astonished by this Zen painting framed in your window. The flowering pear tree's network of branches, bold black brush strokes, surrounded by clouds of white petals. Mist rises in coiled cornrows from the surface of fresh pond. Sun just peeking over the tree line. Not a breath of wind to rustle leaves. How many more sleepless nights can you endure? Where the turnpike threads through blasted bedrock, look up from your book. Take note of the ancient rock faces with snow-crested brows. Observe the blue ice beards, the silver-gray dreadlocks. Waste lot bordering abandoned harborside pump house. This used to be real estate, as the Talking Heads song. Now it's only fields and trees. Where clover, sumac, elephant grass, where pheasants, wild turkey, field mice, and rabbits, where in milkweed patches, Mexican-bound monarchs down from the Maritimes. Now bulldozers scrape bare and level the earth to put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? And the last one. This ornamental cherry tree, the city planted at curbside, today is a branched candelabra tricked out in flames, as in the Shaker painting Burning Blazing Tree. Each wick of leaf is burning bright autumnal orange, a gift to us homeward bound commuters on the 73 bus stalled in traffic. Mother Ann would have approved. So a theme in that book, and it kind of continues, or an approach is my habit as a kind of urban traveler via foot or bicycle or bus or subway, less so by train before the pandemic, and I sort of continue in that vein in my new book, although the theme of travel kind of gets expanded to distant travel by bus and car travel to the far corners of northern Maine. And so here's a poem from the new collection. Also involves the 73 bus, which is my bus to Harvard Square, called Signs and Ciphers. Stepping out into spring breeze to find pear blossoms scattered over where someone wrote in once wet cement, Billy J. 1987, and chalked on another concrete slab, faintly visible beneath hopscotch squares, a palimpsest, outline of a child, legs and arms akimbo. And at the busy avenue, my long shadow in the crosswalk, run over by passing cars again and again. Yesterday, 2 women, a team, silently worked opposite sides of the same street, where trash cans were out for pickup. One, slender, primly dressed, dark stockings, dark skirt, matching waist-length coat, sensible shoes and pillbox hat. The other, heavy-set sweatshirt, sweatpants, high-top sneakers, dark curls peeking out from under her multicolored knits cap. each pushing a grocery cart bulging with plastic bags. And yesterday, stepping off the bus, in a sudden downpour, my hatless neighbor eyed the broken umbrella discarded in the gutter and cracked a wry smile. Today, on the bus shelter's metal bench, an empty Marlboro flip-top box next to a plastic container half full of ripe berries. Someone's hurried breakfast? It's moving day. Out bus window, lamps, chairs, dressers, sofas, box springs, you name it. Eat at curbside. In the square, passerbys can't disturb this man sleeping in the alley behind the post office, where on a mattress dragged off the sidewalk, overstuffed rucksack, his pillow. Around the corner, outside the boutique shoe store, canvas lawn chairs line the sidewalk, where suburban boys in sleeping bags have spent the night to get first crack at limited edition sneakers. And on the brickwork at the subway entrance, a woman's high heel shoe, black patent leather. Lost? Discarded? Just one, the left. Where was she coming from? Where was she headed? Did she leave this one shoe behind and continue hobbling on? Or did she slip off the other as well and proceed in stocking feet along the cold pavement, late for her rendezvous with what prince? Yesterday, dressed in fatigues, a panhandler on a milk crate extended to passers-by his upturned cap, which jostled with a few rain-damp coins. Today, same milk crate, unoccupied, except for a rude cardboard sign. Anything helps. Block lettered message left for contemplation, cipher to interpret. Anything helps. Spring breeze, pear blossoms scattered where someone wrote in wet cement, Billy J, 1987. This next poem, the first line is also the title. Marx said. Marx said, "All that is solid melts into air. All that is sacred is profaned." Meaning old neighborhoods suffer decline or utter change. Save more discount liquors? Gone. Advertised wine for Mother's Day. You drove her to it. But some things remain. The after-hours diners, the street corner watering holes. Hurricane Betty's, landmark strip club, still offers nude dancing, although its signage has been updated, changing the world, one lap dance at a time. So I've been suffering a kind of COVID PTSD lately, both with the news of the uptick in COVID's infections and deaths, and with the possibility that Trump may once again become president, and just remembering the nightmare of listening to his lies and incompetence, and both during the day and then inhabiting my sleep. And so it occurred to me that there were more Americans died during COVID than 2.5 times more than all the GIs who died in World War II, just to put things into perspective. And so I'm going to read, this is called Lockdown Diary, and it goes back to, because I think it's important that we not forget just the horror of those early pre-injection, pre-booster days of COVID, the COVID lockdown. It's a poem that's kind of a paratactic list. One of my favorite poets, and who I admire a lot, and who's inspired a lot of my work, is Charles Resnikov. And I loved his kind of statement of poetics that he actually borrowed from a Song Dynasty Chinese poet. He said that the poet conveys the thing in order to present, I'm sorry, the poet presents the thing in order to convey the feeling. He should be reticent, he should be precise about the thing and reticent about the feeling. And that's sort of a practice of mine. So this is called Lockdown Diary. And read it. It begins with an epigraph from Donald Trump POTUS, a tweet of his. Getting great reviews finally on how well we're handling the pandemic. City Park at lunchtime, empty. Bench and shade, taped yellow. One man, sneakers unlaced, asleep on it. Across post office lobby floor, line of stenciled shoe prints, each matching yellow pair separated from the next, giant steps. Window shades pulled, curtains closed, yard overgrown dandelions and crabgrass on front walk leading to street, a blue surgical mask discarded. Drawn blinds, pulled down grates, shuttered banks, bookstores, shops, cafe chairs on outdoor tables chained, locked. Swing sets gathered, chained. Jungle gym, teeter-totter, slide, all swathed in yellow tape. Protest poster. Give me liberty or give me COVID-19. Trees budding, if not already leafed. Warbler migration near spring peak. Outside cemetery's barred gate. One lone birder, field glasses raised. Avenue where commuters once idled in rush hour traffic. Shirtless joggers, bike riders in tank tops, inline skaters, colorful bandana face coverings. Fashion statements, bearded mountain men, gray hair tied back in ponytails. Women, parted dark hair, skunk striped. Riverside path detritus. Cigarette butts, empty vodka nips, crushed plastic water bottle, used condom, surgical glove, torn. Along the bank, geese and goslings foraging, gliding downstream 2 pairs of swans, strolling the path, a masked couple, gloved hand in gloved hand. Protest poster, Jesus is my vaccine. City Square all but vacant, no cops patrolling. Panhandlers lacking clients congregate on church steps, handing a bottle around, hobo jamboree. Drive up communicant, head tilted back, out open window, eyes lowered, receiving sacrament from priest. Gloved, white coveralls head to toe. Solemnly climbing church steps, golden retriever in the lead, 2 men and women, all dressed in black, bearing polished metal urn. Protest poster, I want a hit. I'm going to finish with a poem. I wrote this a little over a year ago. On my birthday, I was anticipating the birth of my newest granddaughter, who was born a couple weeks later, and so it's called Birthday, and it begins with an epigraph from the novel The Go-Between by J.P. Hartley. The past is another country. This day next year, I will have lived 3/4 of a century. I remember my babcia, Saturday shopping trips to the Polish market. She points to a chicken in the cage, and the man in bloodstained apron grabs the squawking hen, disappears out back, returns to hand her the still warmed, plucked bird wrapped in butcher paper. Sunday's dinner. Sing-song calls announce rag pickers and knife sharpeners with push carts. Sauerkraut and pickles ferment in basement tubs. Pitted peaches swim in sealed ball jars. Spinach, peas, and spaghetti come in a can. Moms hem pants, dads darn socks, dad shears hair. I wear hand-me-downs from cousins. Weddings, birthdays, and first communions are black and white images with scalloped borders, created by a camera, square box covered in faux leather. Clunky black Bakelite telephones, circular dials. Area codes? Forget it. Inside a lacquered wooden console powered by vacuum tubes with glowing filaments, there's a small tinted window. Chuck, Greg, and I peer through it to watch Howdy Doody, Captain Kangaroo, and Kukla Fran, and of course Ollie. Roller skates? 4 wheels with ball bearings strapped onto our shoes. Or nailed to the bottom of wooden crates, they double duty as scooters. One-speed bicycles have balloon tires. Want to stop? Back pedal with a firm swing. City of Buffalo borderlands are chest-high grass and brush fields with flourishing crabapple trees where we kids scare up pheasants, snare rabbits, and barehanded capture turtles and grasshoppers. Hot summer afternoons, we cool off in deep ponds and meandering creeks or jigger for bullheads in the shade of elms. Where have we been all day? Mom doesn't ask. We don't say. Dads keep their tools in war surplus ammo boxes. Artillery shell casings serve as umbrella stands. They savor local beers, Genesee, Iroquois, Utica Club, Carling's Black Label, from tall ceramic steins or thick glass mugs. Excuse me. Our dad chills his Super in the kitchen fridge. They drive secondhand Chevys or Fords. Our dad always has his head under the hood to keep our winged Fairlane running. Thank you.